retirement is a time to really reflect and to be able to continue pushing forward in the areas that maybe I couldn't do as much because I was working, I was drowning, I was just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah.
And now I have a chance to really dig deeper and to continue meeting people like you.
It's pretty powerful when you could listen to somebody, hear their story, and then I go back to have like a helping hand up, and we got your back, and you're doing it with love. And that to me that's the true definition of leadership, you know.
If you don't really believe in the work, then you need to step aside and let someone else take the place. There's a lot of people out there prepared to do the work, and I knew that. If I could not do this job with heart, I needed to step aside and let someone else do it.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Love Local Chicagoland podcast. First off, I want to thank our sponsors, Royal Family Real Estate, the soon-to-be #1 brokerage in the Schaumburg area, my friend. Royal Hartwig is a true visionary when it comes to real estate and delivering an exceptional service to the people that they serve at the Royal Family Real Estate. If you're looking for a real estate company, make sure to call them. This show today, my friends, we're going to have some small talk. I get the opportunity to sit down with Kathy Millin. She is a leader in the community that has led for quite some time partners of our community. She recently retired here in November of this past year, but she's got a heart of gold. I met her probably about 5-6 years ago now through our church and the work that we were doing in collaboration. And I think we immediately kind of hit it off. There's a common respect, at least I hope, for one another because of our hearts and our want to make our communities better places to be able to live. She's a visionary, she's a mentor, and she leads with humility, strength, and kindness. And I don't know about you, my friends, I think we need a little bit more of that in the world today. This episode is not just about her servant leadership, it's about her legacy, the kind of legacy that doesn't just change systems, but changes lives. My friends, I am super honored to be able to have a very thoughtful conversation with Ms. Kathy Millin. Kathy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me here. I was looking forward to this for a long time. Thanks, Jason.
Me too. So is this your first podcast too? Or
this is my first podcast.
That is good. So what's in that cup then? Is that, you sure that's just water? Or?
that's what I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm really excited to have this conversation for all the reasons that I just mentioned. You're a leader amongst leaders, and I think if you talk to people in the community, they would tell you that too, that it's not just something I'm saying, that's something that you've earned for years of service here in the Northwest Suburbs for helping families live better lives. You've fought for the underdog, you've built for the underdog, you told stories for the underdog, and now you could look back on this wonderful career, but the lives you've impacted are more than I probably could even count. So this conversation to me is why we built Love Local Chicagoland podcast, to get voices like yours out, because the stories of the things that you've seen, that you've gone through, and with the people that you've served, with your ability to be able to help paint a picture, I really could help create for a better tomorrow. So with that, I'll shut up. Introduce yourself to our audience. Yeah.
Sure. Well, thank you. Like I said, I'm Kathy. I've born and raised in the Midwest, lived in Illinois my whole life. And now, as you mentioned, I had the privilege of retiring a few months ago. And I'm still learning, wrapping my arms around what that means. I've been a worker since I was 14, whether it was babysitting, I was a teacher, and I came into this role at the POC as director kind of by accident. It kind of just fell, if there is such a thing as an accident. So again,
I don't think so. Yeah.
being born here in the Midwest, I always wished that I could have been born somewhere else. And now I think I've had a chance to say the Midwest is a pretty amazing place with people that are salt of the earth. And I've dedicated a lot of my life to finding those people, surrounding myself with those people, and knowing from the beginning of my life, I was born privileged. I'm lucky. And I think at 65, I can say that. I didn't feel that maybe when I was 8 or 10 or 13, but I can say that I am lucky and I'm privileged, and I was born in a safe house home. I was housed. I was insured. I had all of those privileges that I didn't even know at the time were. And at 65 years old, I turned that yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm able to say that my goal in my life now moving forward is to still continue to make sure that others can feel the same privileges I have, and to be able to say with full integrity what it means to be privileged and understand what that means.
Yeah, it's your unique ability to be able to see multiple perspectives in a glimpse. Is really a gift that you've been given. And through that, you've done some beautiful work over your career. Your style really comes from a place of servant leadership when we talked and when I saw you in action. And to me, you're a leader amongst leaders. As you look back on your journey now, what's in your heart? Like, what are you feeling as you reflect? Now, it's been 3-4 months now?
4 months this month, yes. Yeah, what's kind of in my heart is I feel that there was more work to be done. I feel that, I think I can say that I feel like I did the best I could have done with who I am, with what I had. And what's in my heart now is just knowing still the work that lies ahead. You know, when I first learned that in my town of Palatine there was poverty, I was shocked. And now when I look back, I'm kind of ashamed at that. You know, I lived in a little area of Palatine and raised my kids in this town. I didn't realize till my children went to school that I lived in a town where there was poverty. And my experiences told me that there are many people in our town that do not know that either. And I look back and I think I hope that the job that I did there painted the picture of what poverty is and how we have so much work to do in this city, in this town, in this country about this very important issue. So I feel when I look back, I think I did my best and a fairly good job of painting that picture to others so they understood what it was. And now I hope to continue working in that direction, volunteering, learning. There's so much more to learn.
You're not sitting still.
Yeah, no. Retirement is a time to really reflect and to be able to continue pushing forward in the areas that maybe I couldn't do as much because I was working, I was drowning, I was just trying to stay afloat. Yeah. And now I have a chance to really dig deeper and to continue meeting people like you and others that you're gathering to continue the fight, because it is a fight that we all need to be aware of.
Yeah, and it takes all of us, right?
Yes.
You know, it's sometimes people are like, oh, the Northwest Suburbs of Chicago, there's not poverty, but there is poverty in every community. So, and to me, it's going to take all of us to be able to be aware of that and to figure out collectively and collaboratively how we're going to fix that issue together if we want to be able to create a better tomorrow in our world. You know, you talked about you're ashamed when you figured out that there was poverty in the community. Tell me a little bit about that. I think that's not something I would expect to come from somebody's mouth, but I think it's very thoughtful, and I would love to hear kind of more what you're thinking there.
Well, I think I realized that I lived sort of in a little bubble. I was a young mom raising my first child in Palatine. And I went to the Palatine Park District and the library, and I shopped at the Dominic's that is no longer there. And that was my world. And I did not step outside of that world until my children went to school. It was a neighborhood school. And I'm a public school teacher by trade. It was a neighborhood school, and I saw the children that were in the classroom, and I knew those children did not live in my neighborhood. And who were they? And that's when I learned that there's a side of my town, Northeast Palatine, where there's poverty. And these children were now my children's classmates. And these children were now my children's friends. And at that time, I wanted to understand what that meant for the education of my children, and what that meant for me as a mom and someone that was thinking of joining PTA. I needed to really understand this new world for me. And this is a town that I chose to live in. I chose to raise my kids in, and I wanted to be proud of that decision. And I needed to learn. I had a lot to learn.
Yeah, and that's beautiful that you saw that you had a lot to learn once you saw what was happening, you know. And to me, I hear and see people. It's not my backyard. It doesn't impact me. But I would beg to differ. If poverty is in your community, it's impacting you one way or another. Mm-hmm. From your experience, how do you think poverty impacts not just families that are in poverty, but the whole community?
Well, it definitely impacts the community, and you can see that the children that I got to know and the families I got to know, they would go home at night to areas that maybe weren't safe. Homes that still are mice infested, and at times can be dangerous. And this affects the community. It affects your home value. It affects the safety in your community. If people live in poverty, oftentimes there's a feeling of fear, mm-hmm. and that is something that, as a child growing up, I didn't realize, and you and I had this conversation before, I didn't realize that I was a child born in a middle-class, blue-collar family. Yeah. What I knew is that my parents worked hard. I didn't know my dad rode his bike to work because he didn't have a car. I didn't know that he worked 3 jobs because he needed to. He took pride in his work, and I was raised in that type of humility and that type of background, and I didn't realize that till later in life. Yeah. Yes, and one moment in my career, we got together about maybe 15 kids. There were children that live in poverty, and they are very resilient. And we sat them down and we said, "Tell us about you. How are you able to push forward and have this hope?" And what I learned then is they came from homes of great love. And whether it was just a mom or a mom and dad, there was so much love in that home. And that's what I took away is every child needs a happy childhood, and to be able to help those parents to be able to have the time and the ability to love their children was something that was tangible. It was something that I could do, that we could do together.
Yeah, totally. It's we don't get to choose where we're born into. That is something that is outside of our control. Right. So our ability to be able to, as a collective community, to be able to understand that poverty's there and to go in and lift these families up and lift these kids up is so important. The trauma that you go through when you grow up like that, I feel like when you grow up where it's not easy and there's poverty, there's a lot of trauma that could come along with it. They don't even know you're carrying, but there's tons of love. I experienced that. I think for me, and I've shared this with you before, the greatest gift my parents ever gave me was living and seeing poverty around me, but then getting out of the steel mills of Northwest Indiana to where my dad was always laid off in the 80s and 90s as manufacturing went overseas to China, to move to Las Vegas, and they put me in like the fanciest school, like a Fremd or a Conant type school here. And what I learned is like, they don't understand what it's like to be poor if you came from a rich background. But I also remember that we're actually not that different. We have the same struggles. We have a lot of the same things. It might not be money, but the same human experiences and the same human struggles. There's a lot of commonalities with that. Just when you have poverty, so there's many times there's just so much more to it. But my hope is that we could understand that there's more perspectives than just our own. And if we were blessed enough to grow up into a family that was wealthy, to understand that not everybody has that blessing. And if we can understand that and go with a helping hand as a brother and sister to lift them up, we could shape our world. But unless we're ready to put in the work as a collective community, it's not going to work, because it's going to take all of us. The need is great. And so we need to be able to be aware. You got me on my soapbox on that, so I'm going to jump to the next question. But it's important to understand that perspectives are different, and that at the end of the day, it's about love, and it's about the human heart, and how can we support that within one another, right? Speaking of heart, you're a leader that leads with heart. And why do you think that is so important in leadership?
I think people can sense if you're a person with integrity. They can sense if you're a person that really, really, really believes in them, and you want to listen to them. And some of the greatest advice I was given when I received the job and the mission, I was told that the building that I was working at now, it's the Community Resource Center now, somebody wrote on there, "Enter with a happy heart." And I thought about that. I thought, I can do that. I can ensure that every person that walks into that building, if they don't enter with a happy heart, they leave with a happy heart. I, again, had the blessing of having a very happy childhood and a happy adulthood. And how did that happen? So I thought, if I truly believe that every person deserves happiness on some level, and it's my job, I'm being paid to ensure that this is a place, a building, work that I did that is happy, then I have to lead with that happy and kind heart. And the person that hired me, Ron Buck is his name, I'm doing a shout out to him. He told me that wonderful quote from Lao Tzu, which is, "Go to the people, live with them, learn from them, love them, start with what they know and build with what they have." And he told me the most important thing I can do is just to listen. And it's hard for me. I was named Kathy after the doll Chatty Kathy. So I tend to talk a lot and talk fast. But the most important thing I did was
and you're an empath,
listen.
so you speak directly from the heart. It comes out, so sometimes it comes spewing. But keep going.
But I told myself, and I was told by him, that my number one job is just to listen. And through that, kind of like in The Grinch, I felt my heart growing because I saw people with such potential and so much hope, and working harder than I've ever worked in my life. I tell my husband all the time, we do not work hard. Somebody that works hard is a person that works 3 jobs and comes home exhausted, sleeping on 2 hours, but yet they're fighting for the family. And it was there that my heart started to grow, and I realized how fortunate my life is, and it is. Now I have this privilege of helping others have a leg up and a level the playing field. And I think that was very clear to the people I work with, but not overnight. It took a while. But yesterday on my birthday, I think I received 30 texts from former clients that now I can call are my friends and my coworkers.
It's beautiful and humbling, isn't it?
Without a doubt. And they could feel that I honestly cared about them, and they cared about me and my family. And leading with heart, if you don't have that, if you don't really believe in the work, then you need to step aside and let someone else take the place. There's I just met so many incredible leaders in my job. There's a lot of people out there prepared to do the work. And I knew that. I knew if I could not do this job with heart, I needed to step aside and let someone else do it.
Yeah. It's pretty powerful when you could listen to somebody, hear their story, and then I go back to have like a helping hand up, and like, we got your back, and you're doing it with love. And that to me that's the true definition of leadership, and to be able to do that from a place of like, I got your back, I support you. It must be difficult to have now. You have your ability to have empathy for that person, and to be able to bring them in and to get them to trust you because you genuinely care for them is such a skill that. And I hope and pray people can model off of you as your legacy continues to evolve, because like the world needs more of that. If we lead with empathy, if we lead with heart, if we lead with strong systems, if we lead with good business principles too within all organizations, but if we lead with heart and empathy first, with a helping hand, we can make a stronger tomorrow in our communities. But I'm going to go back to it's going to take all of us. And for you, retiring, I laugh because I'm like, she's not really retired. Like, she's not at POC anymore, but she's still doing things. She's still going after it. It's because I don't think your heart could stop you not to just go because of what you see. Am I right there? Or,
yeah. Oh, for sure. And I remember when I first learned about, again, going back to my kids in school, I would look at the bus and see the kids coming in on the bus and leaving on the bus, whether it was Palatine High School or at my kids' school in District 15. And I wondered, where are they going home to? What are they going home to? And how can their lives be the best they can be? And I will continue to do that forever. Now, when I'm driving my car and I see a young person in the rain with his football gear on, riding his bike to get to football practice, I think about it. And I see people differently. I see the CNAs that are loving on my mom right now in her memory care. And it's making me look at people differently. And that is something I wish everyone had that opportunity.
And go search for it. If you don't, if you're not feeling that way and you can't see the stories within everybody, like, maybe you should. Maybe that's where it all starts, because if you could go from those stories, it's for the human experience is a tough ride for many of us. If you hear the stories, you come from a place of hopefully some more empathy and some compassion that could come out of that. And with that, hopefully, as a society, we could start working on healing a little bit. But I think, to me, it's going to start. It's going to start from all of us within, and it's going to have to collectively come out. When you look at leadership today, what makes you cringe?
Oh, boy.
How long do we have?
How much time do we have? I think what makes me cringe the most is I'm seeing a good leader does not bully. A good leader does not criticize in public. A good leader needs to listen. And I find I cringe at the overspeaking. I cringe at the impatience. I cringe at maybe some joy that some leaders have and making someone feel less than.
Those leaders suck.
Yeah,
and they need to get out of everybody else's way. I'll just say it for you.
It's you're leading from your place of privilege, and people are following you.
Yeah. Those people need to check their hearts in a loving way. I mean that with a helping hand, but what are we going after right now? If somebody's treating another human being like that, and they're talking down to you, they're bringing hate and those types of things into our world, it's just like, no, we can't do that to each other. We need to be kind to each other as neighbors. You know, I saw something this morning on social media from a friend that says, just be a good human. I'm like, that's the quote of the year. Just be a good human. And if you could do that, I think we could work through everything else. But it's going to have to come to each of us being a good human, which means we're going to have to listen, which means we're going to have to be empathetic, which means we're going to have to probably understand things about ourselves that maybe sting a little bit, but I promise you could work through them, and life is more joyful and brings more happiness when that comes for you. You one of the things that I was super impressed with for you with hearing our during our prep call was I just didn't understand. I saw the heart stuff, I saw the leadership stuff as we were connecting and collaborating over the last 4 or 5 years, but I didn't understand like the types of structure and programs that you put into place and how hard that must have been to be able to get those to be funded. So you helped build things and create things that had to resonate with the community to be able to help get that funding. Like, how did you create something that resonated with the community? Because that's not an easy task.
No, that's
especially with who you serve. Yeah.
Right. When I was told once in the very, very beginning that I saw the work and saw what the potential, and I said, boy, people in this town must be so happy we're here. And then someone said, yeah, or they want you just to go away, because if you go away, the poverty, those people will go away. And I took that on.
Our system will put somebody else there. Yes. Let's just call a spade a spade.
I took that as the biggest challenge. And I started, I knew that to be able to get people to want to fund the work we did, and I'm not talking about individual donors, I'm talking about organizations like Chicago Community Trust and United Way, I had to be able to come up with programs that actually showed a change. And to be able to do that, failed in the very beginning with some, and I realized the programs that I thought were important and were failing were ones that I thought were important, not what the people were asking for. So I went right back to what I was told when I was hired, is to listen. So I sat with a young boy, and that I knew him. His mom was in English classes, and he was in childcare. And he said to me, I learned how to talk to women because I saw how you talked to my mom. And I'll never forget those words, because I then knew that his mom was not being treated with the respect in his household that she deserved. And I learned the importance of having children be prideful of their parents.
Yes.
And I also learned that it was my job to make sure that all of our staff and all of our work treated each person that walked those doors not with dignity, because he wasn't seeing that at home. So I thought, how can we make this child's life better? Well, it's to improve the life of his mom. And that's when we started our program called Roll, which is Reaching Out, Lifting to Excellence, which gave women that had this potential for leadership a platform to be able to lead. And it was through that work that we had a program called the Promotoris, which is really just another way of saying community health worker and bilingual liaisons, parent mentors. This started to be fundable work because it's difficult. I don't care who you are. You probably wanted your mom to be successful. You wanted your aunt or your grandmother. In order for them to be successful and happy, they had to have been given an opportunity and a chance. So the programs that were the most fundamental in the beginning were those that did level the playing field, that did give those women in that home the chance to be better and to have a voice and a place to come and to feel safe and be heard. So that was one of the first programs that really, that could speak to everyone. A lot of the work I did not speak to everyone, but this is the one that did. And the other was making sure that children had a happy childhood. I thank my parents every day for that happy childhood that I had. I had freedom.
Yeah.
I had safety. I didn't have a car when I turned 16, like I wish I did,
Yeah.
But I had happiness, and I had a happy childhood, and I thank them for that. And so talking to the kids, what would make you happy? Well, one little boy told me that when he went back to school after summer vacation, he didn't have anything to share. He didn't go on vacation. He didn't go to Disney World. And so with that, we thought, how can we give children memories? So when they go to third grade and fourth grade, they can say, this is what I did in the summer. And that's kind of how I Compete started, a summer camp for kids. So kids could take bus rides to go to Chicago, to go to the zoo, and they had experiences that not only they got out of their home and their life for a little bit, but they had experience to share. And they felt, again,
well, that's a
they
big
were
deal.
just like
You
their
don't get
classmate.
that as a kid in poverty. You don't get those things usually.
No. And I think
it's an extra thing, right? Yeah.
One of our staff shared that one of our little boys was in Chicago for the first time, and his eyes were open to the world out there. His parents didn't have a chance to take him. And he stood up on top of the bus they were on, and he yelled, "I love you, Chicago. I want to marry you." And she came home and told me that, and I laughed. And then I went, this is a simple thing, getting children to the city of Chicago, having them see Lake Michigan that many thought was the ocean, and they took home sand in their pockets and rocks because they said they went to the ocean. So how could we give kids experiences in the summer that would give them something to share that made them feel good? How do we give them a shirt to wear so they feel like they belong? They can be a part of a team. And it was realizing that to give children the opportunity to compete is going to change our town and our schools. And looking at our...
And eventually our nation, if we all put in that work, right?
Definitely. And so a lot of the programs came from the voice of children. They're so honest. And I really, our staff and still to this day, spend a lot of time listening to the kids and making changes in the programs because they know what they need. Every time I thought, this is what people need, it wasn't successful. It had to come from them. It had to be the buy-in. And we also wanted to see the parents come together with us and give of their precious time to support.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. You paint a picture when you talk, and it's, to me, that's one of your reasons why you're such a good leader, is you're able to see the story within and then help paint a picture to maybe the people that don't see the story from within. to you, why should people look to seek the stories within? We talked a little bit about it earlier, and why is that so important to you?
I think the stories help to humanize. It helps the people that you're speaking to stop for a moment and put themselves in someone else's shoes. And I tried to bring the stories of our children, our families, to give everybody else the privilege that I had of hearing those stories. And again, I think the word humanize is the most important. The stories help other people to step out of their world just for a moment and think, what would it be like if I did not have heat in my home? What would it be like if my mom worked 3 jobs and I never got to see her? What does that feel like? And the story
you're a latchkey kid, or you're staying at home, you're have the TV, you have your phone, it's a different life, right? Yeah.
And you try to think of things that were important to you when you were little. And one little boy, we were able to get shoes donated, gym shoes. I'll never forget this stage. Gym shoes donated so the kids could actually run in a track program. And one little boy wouldn't take off his shoe so I could measure his foot. And finally, he whispered in my ear, he goes, "My sock's broke," he told me. And he didn't want me to see. He was ashamed that he had a hole in his sock. And it made me think, oh my goodness, these are kids that changed in gym class. And he was embarrassed about his socks. And so that year for Christmas, I said, everybody just give us socks. So we had a Christmas tree with socks hanging off of it. But things that are so simple like that, isn't your day good when you have a new pair of socks on your feet?
Yeah,
that pair of socks costs $7.
Yeah.
And things that are so small but make you feel good about your day and your life,
gives you confidence too, right?
Yes,
it gives you, it helps carry you for sure.
Right. And so those stories that you I think to be able to get people to say, oh, how would it feel if I had holes in my socks and I only had 1 pair? How would it feel if my shoes were too small and I was afraid to tell my mom because she couldn't afford them, right? Mm-hmm. You tell those stories, and that's something that people can relate to, even though they had a privileged life and didn't have to worry. They can understand why that's important.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't matter what you feel about the work that I did, I think most people could understand what it's like for a child to feel good about himself.
Yeah. Why wouldn't we want, I don't care what their background is or where they're from, why wouldn't we want a child to feel that?
Right?
Yeah.
Right. That's the question.
That's the question. Yeah. Where does that come from?
Right.
If that's the issue, maybe those people should go in. And I mean that with all the love in the world, but fix it, because our kids are our future and we need them to take care of us tomorrow. And my hope is that through this cycle of history, we could push through this darkness and they could help us lead into the light. Because when given an opportunity, kids could fly. Oh, and it's just about giving kids an opportunity, no matter where they come from. Give them an opportunity and let them go. Each of them are just like all of us, are born with a gift inside of us. But sometimes when you grow up and it's hard and things are there, sometimes you can't get to that gift. But that gift is what we're all intended to be able to put into this world so that we can help make it stronger. Right. We got to get to that, right? You said the people with the least often give the most. Why do you think that is?
It truly was amazing to me. For example, like on my birthday when I worked at the center, I missed it this year. People cooked for me and they gave so much, and I realized that if when you can give something to someone, it makes you feel like you belong, mm-hmm. like you matter. And I would oftentimes feel badly taking a dish that maybe one of my staff prepared for me, or a scarf that they brought from their country for me to wear. I would feel guilty about it and feel like I had to pay them. And that was received with very negatively. And I was taught then, people that don't have a lot, they still want to feel like they matter and that they still can love
And
in
they
terms
should.
of giving.
They should feel like they matter.
Right.
We want everybody to feel like they matter. I would hope. Again, if not, then that's that human's issue. Because
Right.
we should all want that for another human
Right.
being. Like, this human experience is full of ups and downs. We know this. That is for all of us. So why wouldn't we want that for other human beings at the end of the day? And it's going to make for more of a vibrant world where our kids can take this to the next level and create a better tomorrow for not only our communities, but our nation and for our world.
Right.
How do you think that principle, how do you think we can learn from that as community members? To me, I think of like, if we give more locally, I think we all could give more. And I don't mean that in a bad way. And maybe it's not everybody, but many of us could give more than what we are giving right now. And to me, it's about keeping our dollars local. And like, if we could just focus in on our area around here, and more of us could be aware of the power of local capital into the organizations that are helping uplift our communities, we can shape our communities in a different light. But it's going to take all of us to be able to do that.
Right.
So back to the question, how do you think we can learn from this as community members?
I think we have to really look around. And you just said a wonderful comment about our town, right? I mean, in terms of our country, there's a lot of work to be done. But we as community members can, number one, we can acknowledge that we are privileged and that we are lucky. That we are lucky and we are housed and we are insured and we are protected and we are safe. And once you can say that, that's hard for some people to say, because I would oftentimes hear them, I'd say, you're lucky, right? And say, yeah, but you don't know how hard I work. I said, you are lucky. And this is why.
Yes.
When you can recognize that and you can say that it is my job on this planet or in my town to make sure that others have some of that safety, whether it's the home that they live in, whether it's the right to go for education, whether it's a pathway to healthcare. If you can say that it's my duty. Again, be a good human. Yeah. Be a good human, and don't for a minute think that you are not lucky. And I feel like that's the start, is getting people to actually say it. People have a hard time with that. I had a hard time with that too.
Sure.
You always want to say the but. I'm not lucky, but I work hard too. But we're talking about children.
That's where you started.
Yeah, we're talking about children and families that were born into a situation that they didn't ask for, that they're in poverty, and we will be stronger. Our town will be stronger if we can help each other. And but it's first getting people to recognize the benefits they have and the privileges.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if we could look in as a community at large, I think there's a lot more good here. And I hope all the other communities out in the world are like that too. But there's a lot of positive people that want to help create a better tomorrow in Palatine. I have felt it all throughout COVID. I have seen it with all the stuff that we were doing, throughout the community, especially early on. It was really what sparked the fuel to be like, well, let's build Love Local Media. Let's do this a little bit different, because the voices in our community are there's a lot of people doing good work. And I also learned that the 6 degrees of separation in our community is really real. So that if we could collectively talk to people like you, if we could collectively connect people in the community through stories, we could help make a stronger local area than what we have right now, because there's weaknesses here, just like there is in any town. But I feel like we have, there's a lot of people that are in this town. Impact Makers of Palatine is one of the groups that we're working with now. POC, Bridge Youth and Family Services, Faith Feeds. Like the list could go on and on. The boots are on the ground here to already do the work. You all just need, not you anymore, but us collectively, we need more resources. We either need time or we need capital. So if you can't give time, can you give capital? And maybe it's just $10 a month. Who cares? If we all gave $10 a month at community at large, we can completely make an impact here in our local communities if we found the things that we're passionate about to help uplift in our community.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're not political. It's not where we're going with this, but your job did have a lot of that. How did you navigate that space, and what advice would you give to the current generation during these times?
Right. And you're right. I'm not a politician. I never wanted to be, and I just pray for our politicians to be better and know that they're out there
to be just good humans.
To be good humans. Yeah. But I feel with my work, when I felt that any time I could bring the human touch to it, I was able to have it not be political. And that was really, really difficult. But I also believe, too, that when I would see my audience or know whether it was speaking at a church or at a meeting, whatever it may be, I needed to always know my audience. And that was important because in that audience, even though there were people that maybe did not totally respect all the work that I had to do with my job, POC, I knew that they were human beings with that had some suffering, that had some challenges and some fears, and I wanted to make sure that I could speak to them. So I always knew to know my audience and to really I go, my job is to love my neighbor. You hired me. You gave me this beautiful job to love my neighbor and to make sure you did too. And how can you argue with that? Yeah. How can you argue? The most important thing, the easiest thing to do is to love your neighbor. And yet that seems to be something we continue to struggle with.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? I agree with you. I'm in the POC with the love because you gave me an opportunity to send you a picture of something you're doing with the Love Your Neighbor shirt and a camera. So we have a common agreement of that.
I think it's hard to love what you don't know. It's hard to love what you don't understand. Yeah. It's hard to love what you don't take the time to understand. And when I was really able to sit on the stoops of where our families live, and I was able to become part of their lives and be invited to their weddings and their funerals and their birthday parties, I was able to see that at the end of the day, and you said it right from the beginning, we're all the same. We all just want the best for ourselves and for our family members. But I had to get to not be political. I had to go just to people's integrity. And, it is your job on this planet to love your neighbor as much as you love yourself, and work on it and be better.
Yes.
Be better. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to take all of us to take that approach to make a better tomorrow. Right. And to me, the excuse I'm hearing from some now, not everybody, because I think there's a lot more good in this world than not. Sure. But when I say, hey, read this, or is there something I could read from you to try to understand your perspective? Or, what I keep getting from people, not everybody. There's definitely some people that I'm having some fruitful conversations with, and we're growing together. But the fact that I keep hearing I don't have time is just stupid. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, if we don't make time to love our neighbor, then that's the problem. Right. And, this is off of what, to piggyback off of this, not about POC, but we're supporting Impact Makers of Palatine. It's a group of women that are helping each other with sexual violence. And they're also a community of women that kind of go into other communities to be able to help and to be able to bring kind of a boots on the ground approach. Mm-hmm. And we did a video on them just this last couple of days. It'll probably be aired before this show goes out. And a woman was, that's leading it, was sexually assaulted twice in our local community where we grocery shop, where we go to Walgreens. And the thing that stood out to me there was she was like, both times it happened, people, men and women, walked by and they didn't do anything. They just walked in. Well, we want to go back to the 50s. We want to paint that picture. Well, to me, the 50s was when we loved our neighbor and where a man or a woman would have fought for another man or woman that was being assaulted. Mm-hmm. And especially if a man saw that and didn't do something, that's the problem with our community. We need to man up and we need to think about how other people are acting, and if we could protect somebody, if we could protect our neighbor, if we can have their back, if we could lift them up with an open hand, then we can make a better tomorrow. But it's going to take each of us. We can't be walking away from somebody being assaulted, especially a woman by a man. Like, what's your problem? Like, go in, fix it, because life is hard. We know that. Mm-hmm. So go fix that, because if you're not willing to help somebody, if you're not willing to pick up somebody and help carry them along the way to get them going again, then maybe you're part of the problem in our local community. And I'm just being real. I'm not trying to be divisive. I'm not trying to do anything other than, like, maybe we need a heart check in our community, because we got to be better. At the end of the day, we have to be better. So whether that's that situation or for whether it's the people that you serve, they're our neighbors, and our job here on this planet, you said it perfectly, is to love our neighbor. And right now we're so focused on all this other stuff that we're not loving the neighbor the best we can. And to me, that's the issue. If we just focus on fixing that, then we can make a stronger and more vibrant tomorrow. Yeah. I think on that note, like, we all need to grow. We all need to learn. None of us are perfect. Mm-hmm. But it's about building leaders for today and stronger leaders for today and helping make leaders for tomorrow. How do we build leaders in a community like this that has diverse opinions? Yeah. In your opinion?
In my opinion, wow. To be able to have, I think one of the privileges I had in my life was teaching at Harper College. I had a group of students all going for their GED, right? And it was through that work that I was able to give opportunities for people to show their leadership, right? So in order to identify leaders, you have to be able to give them the opportunity to lead. And maybe that style looks a little different than the way that you were raised in. But I feel like leadership can't just come from those that look like me. It needs to be people that have many different voices and many different life experiences, and you need to give them the platform to show their strengths. And that comes from education, that comes from removing barriers that they may have in their life to feel like their voice doesn't matter. So it's giving, it's just leveling that playing field to have the leaders around that table look different and be very diverse.
When we have diverse opinions at the table and we have a culture where we listen to one another, ask questions, lead with curiosity, right, and we have a big table with a lot of diverse opinions, but we come at it with that approach, game on.
Right.
The best ideas come to life, and through having those bigger tables, there is more of, you could go really fast alone, but you could go really far together. So when you have a bigger table that is full of diverse opinions, that a group that is collectively going in a direction, you could disrupt. But it's really coming from a place of, like, best idea wins out. It doesn't matter where it comes from. And I know for me, it's something that I instill here of, like, I don't care where the idea comes from. Does it fit to what we're trying to be able to do? Right. From there, ideas can come from anywhere. And it's more along the lines of when and how we get things done, right? Which collectively could come from a group of people at a table that have diverse opinions on the best way to be able to get there.
Yeah, and you have to have the confidence to say, I'm wrong. I'm wrong, and let
hard,
me
though.
hear it. Yeah, 'cause
weakness.
You may lose a little bit.
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's if people think you're weak, then
Right.
we don't want that, right?
If I talk louder than you and I'm stand over you, then maybe I'll be right.
Yeah, maybe what they don't understand is that talking loud doesn't do shit at the end of the day. And we see right through that. And that's why empathy, compassion, love, listening to people, that's to me true leadership, helping and uplifting people, to help teach them, to help them grow, to help them be their best versions of themselves. That's leadership, not raising your voice, not talking down to people, not standing around your little friends with your own just opinions. Like that's yesterday. Tomorrow is diverse opinions at bigger tables, and with everybody is invited. Everybody, where the best ideas win out at the end of the day.
Exactly.
You said you you said you became a better leader because of the people you served. Found that to be extremely beautiful. What did they teach you?
They taught me what hard work looks like. They taught me what perseverance looks like. They taught me what hope looks like, and they also taught me to be grateful of the simple things. I'll never forget, one woman said to me, we were sitting out at our community garden, it was getting dark, and she said to me, she goes, I miss, in my town I was born in, we did not have electricity. And at night I could see and I could feel the stars and I could feel nature. She goes, I miss that. And I thought about that for a minute, and I thought she would say how wonderful it is that we have electricity and power lines and lights. And she missed that simpleness. And the people that I work with taught me to be joyful of those simple things.
Wow.
Those simple things. And when I take my morning walks now, I'm trying to be more grateful to those simple pieces of life. It's the robin seeing the worm, and it's the crocus coming up through the snow. They appreciated everything, and they appreciate time in each other. And sometimes the more you have, the more you want. And I learned from them that it's not what you have, it's who you have in your life. And if they have love and respect, then that means more than the house you're living in and the car you're driving. Sure. So it taught me what's really important in life. And some of the things you can control and some you can't.
Yeah. Drop the mic. Not that one, but drop the mic. That's beautiful. And it's I love how you just allowed their stories in. You took them in, you came back with love to be able to help uplift in ways that you felt led. And my hope and prayer is that people listening to this are inspired to go and aspire to do that in their own way, and to inspire to get mentorship, to get friendship, to get in the community with people that are, want to go in that same direction together to be able to help make our world and community stronger. The world's a bit of a hot mess, to say the least, right now. What's your wisdom for this moment in time to our local community?
Yeah, I think we tend to we have a lot of anger right now, and we tend to be focusing a lot on that. And I feel my best advice now that I'm telling myself too is to turn it off and to remind ourselves of what's really important in life. And
it's those little things.
Yeah. It's just you have to when. We're kind of going. I feel we're going down a path that's a little scary, and I've seen it before. When you're 65, you see many paths, but I feel
65 is the new 50. I didn't know if you knew that yet, but I just let you know.
Yeah. I feel we need to regroup, and it can't take a disaster. It can't be a major fire to get the community to come together to reach out. It can't always be something that's scary like that. We just need it every day. We need to be reminded that we are lucky to be in this country. We're lucky to be have our feet on the earth, and we need to slow down and take a breath and not get too caught up in what we're hearing, what we're seeing, because it makes us dark, and it makes us lose hope. And that's just not a good place to be.
Yeah, and with social media now, it's really really smart to disconnect, because there's so much misinformation and disinformation from both sides that are out there at a very, very loud rate right now.
Yeah.
That as humans, we haven't gone through that. But my experience, because in working through this, is I need to shut social media off at times and just pick up a book or to go for that walk or go for that bike ride or whatever that is. Because social media allows us to go really fast, when as humans, we're better when we slow down a little bit.
Right.
When we get the peace, when we are able to breathe, to be able to be self-aware, to be able to understand that if we're feeling anxious or if we're feeling upset or something, where it's coming from. You're triggering yourself in some way. Right. So to figure out what that root is, and then to figure out how you can make it better, whether it's by getting in a group of community of people, whether it's getting therapy, whether it's whatever the case is, whether it's just talking to your friend and getting some message out there, but to get away from social media, to slow down. And I hope and pray every single day as we go through this time in history is that we just focus on loving our neighbor, because we can't do everything in this world. And the emotions of what's out there right now on these social media platforms could eat our soul if we allow it to be. Right. But what if we just I don't want to say stop it. What if we just went to our front yard and started talking to our neighbor and started saying hi when somebody's driving down the street? Right. And kind of bring back those simple principles. Right. Because at the end of the day, I think we're all searching for that joy and that happiness.
Be nice to your waitress. Be patient with the construction worker that stops you in your car. And it's just look at each person as try to, for a moment, think, what is it like to be them? And how can I just show respect? Just show respect.
I used to road rage. In my 20s, for sure. I'm sure it went into my 30s, let's be real. And now I experienced road rage the other day on me. The guy was driving bad, but he was obviously having a bad day. And it was yelling at me and screaming at me. And I'm just like, oh, brother, I'm sorry. Whatever you're going through that's pulling that up, that this here upsets you that much, I pray your day gets better. Yeah. Go figure that out, because if you're carrying that on a daily basis, you're not going to live as joyous of a life as you can. And being a human is full of ups and downs. But if you focus in on stillness, if you focus in on the simple things in life, the joy that it could bring, even in the storms, is quite beautiful.
Right. And remember to think. The other day I was kind of frustrated where my mom is and with one of the staff, and I, instead of letting her know that, I just thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do. I know this is hard. Just thank you for your patience. Even though she wasn't maybe showing the patience, I said, thank you for your patience and thank you for doing this hard work. I don't think we thank each other enough for that. We just don't. And it feels good to be thanked.
And it's stressful sometimes, especially in that type of job. You have a lot coming at you, and sometimes people are assholes. So now you have that to be able to manage too. So sometimes you do carry it. So to me, you could come back fighting and be angry at somebody when maybe something's not right with you, or you could come back with love, and you could come back by, oh man, I'm sorry, did I do something? Right. And or if I did, I didn't mean to, or I'm sorry you're going through whatever you're going through. Like if we came at it from that away instead of just trying to be tough through everything, I think we could live more joyfully. Right. But it's gonna have. I've said this a million times throughout the show, it's just going to have to come from each of us. And each of us has to do that own internal work. None of us could do it for each other.
I was pouring through the letters and the cards for my retirement.
Were you crying?
Yeah. I was pouring, but again, before we spoke, because I was thinking what really meant the most to people about what I did. And it ended up at the end of the day is, thank you for being nice. I mean, that's really what it was. It wasn't thank you for the program. Thank you for getting me a job. Thank you for helping me to healthcare. It wasn't those things, even though those were important. It was just thank you for being nice. Yeah. And thank you for your warm smile. And I thought those were the easy parts of the job. for the most part. And I think that's what I took away is I go, I guess that's what my legacy was, is I was a kind person and built hope and was nice, and how easy that is for us to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
It's for you, the journey, you're at a spot in your life, I feel like, where, Ray Dalio is a hedge fund guy. He wrote a book called Principles, but he said something in a social media clip that I saw that it's like, your beginning of your life, you're learning, you're growing. Middle of your life, you're kind of executing. And you get to a certain point of your life where it's all about giving back. And even though you gave back in the middle of it too, it's about helping up the next generation, is taking your knowledge and to be able to share it with others, and so that they can do the same as they get older. And I just thought that to be so profound, and to think about life that way of like, well, now it's grinding season, but like, where am I teaching younger people? Where am I in fellowship and connecting with people that we both win and learn and grow together? I think those things are important in order to make a strong society and community. And my hope is that more people continue to unlearn the things that we've learned, to go in to help ourselves heal, and to be able to get to the place where we could experience more good things in our life. So last question, and we'll get ready to wrap up. You knew it was time to go. Why was it the right moment for you, and what do you hope the next leader carries forward?
Wow. I was told by a grantor who came to visit me at our little apartment complex that we work, and she said to me, "You'll know it's time to leave when you're not needed anymore." And we started with a staff of 3. We now have over 35. I'm not even sure the number. But I saw that the people that I once was helping, they are now working. They're now employed. They now are my peers. They're my coworkers. They're my friends. They understand the mission. And I felt myself just backing away. And I was told that 23 years ago, you're done when you're not needed. And I went, people are, just like the quote, the people are doing it. The people that once came for help are now the helpers. And that I knew that it was time that I could leave. And that was a real powerful moment. You like to think that everything's going to go to crap when you go, but that's not the way I like to lead. Yeah. And I felt that it was really exciting for me. Maybe I couldn't have done it 10 years ago, but I knew when I did it 3 months ago that it was the right time. And the leadership now has, I retired in November. Well, there's a lot happening right now with our country. And it directly affects the mission of POC. And the leader now needs to do what I did in the very, very beginning, and the leadership does, is continue to be able to speak to the root causes that we have in our community of issues, and need to humanize those issues so people stop saying they're the problem and start knowing that we own this problem together. And there's a job. There's always going to be a job when you're dealing with those that are unhoused and those that are poor. There's always going to be work to be had. But right now, it's to still continue to paint that picture of hope. And how one of the women I work with said, and I was so proud of her. She said, "Kathy, I could be your neighbor. I could live next door to you, but I can't because I'm poor." And I thought that was such an important message for me to share, is that she does deserve to be my neighbor. And the only thing that's separating her from living next door to me is the fact that she doesn't have the money. So she knew that she now has the confidence and the integrity and so the next leadership in any area, then when you're working with the underserved, is to remember to hear their voice and to continue to make sure that that playing field is level and never stop.
Yeah. Amen. So you've helped people grow. You've helped people heal. And now some of the people that you've helped grow and that you've helped heal and that you've helped become best versions of themselves are now doing that for others.
Yeah.
It's pretty beautiful.
And they're stronger workers than I ever could be and ever will be. So they're the best.
It's a heck of a legacy, my friend. So I really appreciate this conversation. It's like I said, I remember talking with you one of the first times. I'm like, I'm going to interview her on something that I was like just starting, but I just knew what comes out of your mouth really comes from a place from your heart and from a place of understanding that as people in our community and as humans in our world, that we need to focus in on understanding one another's perspectives and look at humanizing the way we look at one another. And if we were in their shoes, we had the holy socks and we didn't have money to buy the other ones or whatever the exact analogy was that you used earlier. It was the broken sock. How would we react? And if we could go there and then go with a helping hand to lift a brother or sister up, tomorrow is going to be stronger. So keep doing you. You ain't retired out. You're working. You're working. You just ain't getting paid.
And you keep doing you.
We ain't stopping.
I'm looking forward to watching.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's like we're just getting started. If that makes any sense, I feel like we're built for this time, and we kind of wanted to come from a place of loving local, hence the name. So appreciate your time today and just this thoughtful conversation. I hope our community finds as much joy in it as I did. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My friends, just want to give a quick shout out to Royal Family Real Estate. They're doing great things. Make sure to think of them. I'm super grateful for them to sponsor this show so I could give voices like Kathy's out into the airwaves. My friends, we're stronger together as community members, and it's really important to love our neighbor. And if we could look at things from multiple perspectives in a human element, we can make a better world. But unless we're ready to go in and to be able to fix whatever is broken that is keeping us from doing that, we're not going to get to where we want to go, and we're going to leave cards behind during this generation. And I'm just going to be real. We're going to screw up the next generation too, and probably the generation after that. So as a community, can we collectively go inside? We collectively learn from one another. Can we collectively be curious and not judgmental? Can we collectively ask better questions? Can we collectively come together to build win-wins and build bigger tables? Because at the end of the day, best ideas win out. Let's go, my friends. I'm super grateful for Kathy for this conversation. Support local, love local. We're stronger together. Peace.